Hello, my readers and writers. Please take a minute, relax, and listen to the gonzo story I have for you today. I began the day with trepidation. Today was the day of the teacher fair that would have a huge impact on my life in the coming year. All the school districts of the bush would be there. The bush is anything in Alaska that is not connected to Anchorage by roads. I was nicely dressed, even put a tie on. This was going to be an interview of me, but I was going to be interviewing them just as much. It took me all about 15 minutes to decide this was not the right choice for me at this time. It was nothing to do with the districts, as I was very impressed. It has more to do with me and the feeling of rightness that I have here in Anchorage. I've been hearing from some Alaskans that Anchorage is not the real Alaska. And I have to kind of laugh at this. When I lived in Seattle at 105th and Aurora, native Seattleites would say that is not really Seattle. Same is true for when I lived in Portland. Some would say 75th and Powell was not Portland. Of course, I, being a native Iowan, am inclined to wonder if Des Moines is the real Iowa. Excuse me while I choke on some hypocrisy. So, the day is still young as it is. I find a gas station and I switch out of my nice clothes for don't rob me clothes. I'm rocking a Bob Ross shirt, fidget spinner in hand. Don't judge. The techno-trance genius of Lance Blaze on my headphones, and I'm strolling downtown, thinking that this might be a good opportunity to read. I wander the streets of Anchorage for some time, and I find that I have stumbled upon the place where the official start of the Iditarod begins. Very cool. There's a statue there that represents this dog. This dog was the lead sled dog on a team that delivered medicine to Alaska during an outbreak when no other dog teams could get through. I must admit, as far as monumental architecture goes, this one was a beauty. A lot of work and detail went into that, as I'm fairly certain I would be able to pick the actual dog out of a group of canines of the same breed. Granted, the dog would be like 110 now, or 900,000 in dog years, but you get the idea. I am so jazzed from the teacher conference, I know there's no way I can sit down and read my book. I would need to stand and read for a little while, and then my body would relax enough to let me sit down. I read a stupid amount. Techno music is amazing, but not the most relaxing, so I take off my Skull Candy headphones, and I begin reading the book that I brought, which was The Sword of Shannara. Fair as murder. That is so 1850s, an obvious touristy type woman says as she walks by me. Obviously, not referring to me. Remember, Bob Ross shirt, the man would go on 15-minute rants about squirrels. Not a fur lover. She's actually looking into the store that is right by me. What a bizarre thing to say. But I continue reading my book, becoming more and more concerned about the top of my very bald head. I've scorched it repeatedly since moving here, as the sun is not a huge fan of setting this time of year, which leads to loads of sunlight hitting my shiny dome. As any reader will tell you, no matter how hard you try not to listen to conversations while you're reading, you end up being a little bit of an eavesdropper. The exclamations I overhear fall into two categories. 1. Fur is murder. How dare they? 2. Oh my god, that is so awesome. I've always wanted a fur coat. Curiosity piqued, I put my book in my backpack and decide to go explore the store. It's a furrier, which at first sounds like a bizarre sex act involving two grown people dressed as mascots dry humping each other, but is actually a place that sells furs and pelts. Yeah. There were all kinds of dead animals on display. I felt like Ace Ventura in the second, better movie when he discovers the room full of mounted animal heads. The world spinning around me. The only thing I can think is, a lovely room of death. I begin to feel uncomfortable and decide to leave. As I walk down the street, constant sun on my reflective, never-ending forehead, I think to myself how anyone could buy fur, let alone take pleasure in it. I'm again choking on some hypocrisy here, but let me explain to you why I'm choking on hypocrisy. So, the scene is my parents' farm in rural Iowa, about 8 years ago. My parents are celebrating their wedding anniversary by going to the Buffalo Roundup in the Dakotas. I'm keeping an eye on the farm while they are away, and other than keeping the cows, goats, chickens, peacocks, African guinea fowl, and cats fed, I have one very simple mission. Keep the billy goats away from the nanny goats. It is a blazing hot Iowa summer day. The kind of day where you can feel your soul seep out a little when the hot air slams into you after leaving the glory that is known as air conditioning. I fed, watered, and eyeballed all the animals, and have escaped into the aforementioned glorious air conditioning. My reading of Salome by Oscar Wilde is interrupted when I hear a loud crash. Then another loud crash. I knew exactly what was going on. Emerging from the cool confines of the house, as my soul seeped out just a little, my glasses completely fogged up. In my frenzy to get out to the barnyard, I ended up leaving my glasses in the house. I will soon be very grateful for this. The farm has 3 male goats on it at this time. 2 intact, meaning they have their testicles, and 1 withers, meaning a castrated goat. The wither's name is Jeff Goatworthy, and he is about the fattest, nicest goat you can ever imagine. He was a bottle baby, meaning we fed him, he didn't have a mama goat, and loved being around humans. Larry the cable goat was a small fainting goat that we used for the nannies, for the first-time nannies, so as to give them a smaller berth their first time. This is good as the final member of the Redneck Goat Comedy Tour was Bill. Bill was a huge boar goat. I remember how happy we were when we first bought him, as we bought him right the night before they changed the breed standard. We'd made out, as Bill did not fit this before, but afterwards he did fit the breed standard perfectly. Now you should really only keep a billy for a couple years and keep them away from their offspring so as not to breed abominations, obviously. Now, through some quirks of fate, we had renewed our own stock a few times and had sold all the very valuable offspring Bill had given us. So Bill had stayed on the farm and gotten bigger and bigger and meaner and horny. Bill was a very, very horny goat that did his duty often and with great vigor. Yeah, you're watching a video about a horny goat. It happens. So I'm rounding the corner of the barn, and I see that Bill has smashed through not 1, but 2 fences, both of which were sturdy and had electric fencing on them. His stench hits me, and I gag. Thinking to myself, how in the heck am I going to fix this situation? So, see, when a billy goat hits mating season, it puts cologne on to attract the ladies. Only they don't buy Burberry cologne. Billy goats create their own cologne in the form of urine, which they throw on themselves with the enthusiasm of a middle school boy with an axe. It's debatable which one smells worse, actually. Cool on the axe, boys. Unfortunately, if Bill did his duty right now, the farm could expect kids, those are baby goats, right around wintertime. This is not good. You really want to give baby livestock animals all of spring and summer to get ready for winter. Also, nanny mama goats have a natural inclination to clean a spot off for their babies. Not a bad thing, unless it is winter and they are now putting their babies on a very clean, very cold slab of cement in an Iowa barn. This is why we separate the male goats and female goats during the summer, so as not to have baby goats at an inopportune time. I'm thinking of this as I cautiously approach Bill, who was smashing himself repeatedly into a fence, trying to get to the nannies. Bill's smell is worse up close, and I notice his head has so much urine on it as to appear damp. A very, very smelly, mission-oriented, horny goat. My plan is to grab him by the back leg and drag him to the barn, where there is a little pen I could put him in while I repair the fence. Yeah, Bill, not a huge fan of that idea. Had a little bit of success, maybe 10 or 15 feet of movement, until he figured out what I was doing and slipped out of my grasp. The fact that his legs were slick with urine probably didn't help me. After this, every time I came near him, he would headbutt me, which hurt a ton, as he was a solid 250 pounds of horny goat fury. Several times throughout the brawl, I can remember getting locked up with Bill and entering a stalemate. Each time, my head would be stuck in a position where I was looking across the barnyard, At Larry the Cable Goat. Hey man, can you help me out with your brother? I asked Larry the Cable Goat, as if he would respond. Yeah, he didn't. I get nowhere in my battle with Bill, and to my dismay, he breaks through this fence. There is one more fence he needs to get to, and about 50 feet of ground to cover before he gets to the nannies, who were all presenting themselves and bleeding, which probably wasn't helping Bill calm down. I sure would like to tell you how I kicked that goat's butt and saved all those babies from being born during the winter. Really would. But I can't. I'm not a small human being. I'm not. But every time I would make headway, he would somehow make the contest a straight shoving match, and I would crumple to the ground like a child, desperately grasping his horns, as I had quickly realized that holding onto those horns for dear life was the only way he couldn't rear back and headbutt me. I'd learned that repeatedly. I am covered in urine, sweat, and shame, lying on my side on the ground, exhausted, as I watched this goat jump like a deer over the last fence and just begin to tag every nanny he could find. I know I'm going to catch a bunch of crap for this from parents, let alone the burden it is to have to constantly check on the nannies come winter, lest they clear a spot for their babies on the freezing cement. So I did what any good Iowan would do in this situation. I swore loudly. So loudly that as I lay there, I heard a thump, like a wet, furry body hitting the cement. I had sworn so loudly that Larry the Cable Goat had fainted. Thanks, buddy. Could have really used your help. So back to the present day, as I walk down the streets of Anchorage, trying to figure out how I feel about fur. Is it murder? Is it awesome? I really don't know. But sometimes that is okay to be that way. There are some issues in life where it's impossible to come to a firm opinion. This is one of those cases for me. In some ways, I really do think fur is a bad thing and a waste. I do. But at the same time, it gets really cold in Anchorage. A pair of rabbit fur mittens might not be a bad idea. It might be a safe thing. And we all know about what the club does to the girl wearing the boots with the fur. Excuse me while I choke on a little more hypocrisy. Yeah, in some ways, fur is murder. But sometimes it also tastes pretty good. Bill was the oldest, meanest, biggest goat we ever had, and dude, let me tell you, he looked mighty good on my dinner plate. And his fur hide looks pretty nice hanging in the barn. Choke on some more hypocrisy. I'll grab I would like to show you a picture of it, but first I would need to call my mom. So I've already done that. But when I call my mom, she answers and tells me it is hotter than all heck in Iowa on this day of July. And there's no way she's going out to the barn to take the picture. I tell her it is not that bad. She should go outside and take the darn pic. I say this as I am sitting in a small coffee shop drinking iced tea on a balmy 63-degree day in Anchorage, the city of lights and flowers. Now, pardon me while I go lose consciousness from choking on so much hypocrisy. That's the end of my story. Well, I hope you liked my story, and if you did, please like and subscribe. Until next time, I'll be writing, and I hope you are too. You're right on when you're writing on.